Think you know the Brooks Ghost? Think again. Introducing the all-new, better-than-ever Ghost 16. Now with nitrogen-infused cushioning for lightweight, supreme softness that feels good every step, every street, every single day. So go ahead, take your daily joyride in the all-new nitrogen-infused Ghost 16. It'll turn your everyday miles into everyday endorphins. Let's run there. Head to brooksrunning.com to learn more.
Hi, I'm Alexis Ohanian. You may know me as one of the co-founders of Reddit, but more recently, a large part of my identity is being a father to my wonderful daughters. In my podcast, Business Dad, I hope to open the conversation about working parents a bit. You'll get to hear from a wide range of business dads, from Rainn Wilson and Guy Raz to Todd Carmichael and Shane Battier, to find out how they balance being a dad with a successful career. Business Dad is available now, so be sure to listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
And now, stop me if you've heard this before on the Toddcast podcast.
As a Vancouver Canucks fan, after the game, you likely listened to Sportstalk with Dan Russell. Great analysis with caller interaction. Players would come on, coaches, the GM would make an appearance. Dan had a real knowledge of the sport, and his show was likely the best sports show of its time, maybe all time. 30 years of broadcasting, close to 8,000 shows, and a #1 book for Dan as well called Pleasant Good Evening, a memoir. Great to have him on as a guest, as a former colleague of the TD Tower in Vancouver. He was just down the hall from CFox when I was doing the afternoon show. He was over at CKNW, and lots to talk about as well. What was he binge watching? Seeing Peter Frampton in concert came up. So did the fact that he kept a personal diary of all of his radio shows and what went on. We talked about McDavid and the Oilers, Pavel Bure and the Canucks, big band, 70s music. He shared a near-death story. And stop me if you've heard this before. Dan talked about career highlights from his time hosting Sports Talk.
I just keep coming back to Bobby Orr, because Bobby Orr was my hero. He's the whole reason I loved hockey. I saw him play as a Boston Bruin in 1968. It was a Saturday night on Hockey Night in Canada. I remember my dad saying, watch number 4, watch number 4. I'm only 8 years old. I watched him all right, as so did the rest of the country. And I was turned on. A couple of years later, he's flying through the air, winning the Stanley Cup. So it took a few years, but there was a night at the Fog and Suds. In fact, we had him on 3 times. But the first night at the Fog and Suds was such a thrill to have him. And he was a real gentleman. And we promoted those tickets at the Fog and Suds. We were giving away, giving the money to charity, but we charged $10 a ticket just to control the crowd as much as anything. So they bought their tickets a week ahead of time, and it sold out on the phone in, nanoseconds. Everybody wanted to see Bobby Orr. But I kept saying on the air, that these are not guaranteed seats. You have to get there early to get the best seat. Well, little did I know that early to them meant 5 in the afternoon. So my show started at 10. They're there 5 hours beforehand, waiting for the great Bobby Orr to arrive. And the name of the restaurant is Fog and Suds, and the emphasis that night was the Suds.
Stop me if you've heard this before on the Toddcast podcast is powered by FKP MMA, Vancouver's #1 training destination at fkpmma.com.
Talmor, Sheshin Marachi. Talmor is my home. My family have worked the land for generations. My gran says the island does not belong to us, but we belong to the island. And we must be ready, for a great evil is coming, and death follows with it.
Listen and subscribe to the latest season of Undertow, The Harrowing, a Storyglass production presented by Realm, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Contained herein are the heresies of Radolf Burntwine, erstwhile monk turned traveling medical investigator. Join me as I uncover the blasphemous truth of a plague-ridden world, that ours is not a loving God, and we are not its favored children. The heresies of Radolf Burntwine, coming January 2nd, wherever podcasts are available.